The worst World Cup for each team, Mexico in Qatar, 2022. Mexico arrived in Qatar with the curse of the fifth match engraved in their DNA. 7 times in a row they had reached the round of 16 and had been eliminated there. That was their ceiling. But at least they made it past the group stage. In Qatar, not even that. They drew with Poland in their debut, lost 2-0 to Argentina in the second match, and against Saudi Arabia, who had just beaten Argentina, they needed to win by a big margin. They were winning 2-0. The third goal didn't come. Saudi Arabia scored in stoppage time, eliminating Mexico on goal difference. Netherlands and Italy, 1990. The Clockwork Orange arrived in Italy as the European champions. They had Gullit, Van Basten, and Rijkaard, the best trio in Europe at that time, and they didn't win a single match in the whole tournament. 3 draws in the group stage. They qualified in 3rd place. They faced Germany in the round of 16, their worst possible matchup, and lost 2-1 with 2 players sent off. Ballon d'Or winner Van Basten didn't score during the tournament. A team expected to win the World Cup, but won nothing. Brazil in 2014. And we come to the worst of all. Not because of their position in the standings, but because of how it happened. Brazil as the host. Brazil with the whole world watching. And Germany thrashed them 7-1 in the semifinals. There's no need to go over the match play by play. We all saw it. We all remember it. The Mineirado, the match that forever changed the history of Brazilian soccer. People crying in the stands. The players in shock. A country that didn't understand what was happening. Brazil finished 4th in their own World Cup, which is already a huge failure. But what stuck in everyone's mind wasn't the final position. It was that score. That 7-1. That number in Brazil remains unspoken, almost as embarrassing as the Maracanazo. Portugal in Korea, Japan, 2002. Portugal came to that World Cup with one of the most talented generations in its history. Figo was the Ballon d'Or winner. Rui Costa, Pauleta, a star-studded squad. The debut against the United States was a fiasco. In less than 40 minutes, they were already losing 3-0. They reacted. They came back to 3-2, but it wasn't enough. They thrashed Poland with 4-0 in the second match, and everything seemed recovered. They only needed a draw against South Korea in the last match, but they lost 1-0 and were eliminated. 21st place out of 32, with one of the best squads in the tournament. Historic failure. Argentina in Korea, Japan. The same tournament that destroyed Portugal also destroyed Argentina, and Argentina came in with an even more star-studded generation. Veron, Batistuta, Simeone, Ortega, Zanetti, Crespo. Under Marcelo Bielsa, they had a historic qualifying campaign. Everything pointed to them winning that World Cup. They won the first match against Nigeria. They lost their second match to England due to a Beckham penalty. In their final game against Sweden, Argentina needed a win, but the Swedish goalkeeper was outstanding. The 1-1 draw meant Argentina was eliminated. Argentina hadn't failed to get past the group stage since 1962, 40 years without that failure, and they repeated it right when it hurt the most. Colombia in France, 1998. This goal hurts more because it marked the end of an era. Valderrama was in his final games, and Freddy Rincon had lost his former explosiveness. A team that qualified in remarkable fashion but entered the tournament broken. Romania thrashed them in the opener, with Hagi scoring a great goal. They beat Tunisia with a later Preciado goal, giving some hope. But in the decisive match against England, they lost 2-0. Colombia exited in the group stage, and Valderrama retired without the glory he deserved. Italy in South Africa, 2010. Italy arrived in South Africa as world champions. Buffon, Pirlo, Cannavaro, Gattuso. A historic team. They drew with Paraguay in their debut. They drew with New Zealand, the weakest team in the group. New Zealand didn't even have a professional league. And in the decisive match against Slovakia, they lost 3-2. The defending champion, last in their group without a single victory, eliminated by Slovakia. Finished 26th out of 32. The Azzurri's worst result ever ended a golden generation that stayed too long. Now let's move to Ecuador, who qualified for Germany 2006 for the second time. In their 2002 World Cup debut, they advanced past the group stage, raising expectations. No one expected them to be eliminated so quickly and easily. They lost against Poland, they lost against Germany, and they drew with Costa Rica. 1 point. Second to last in the group. Without scoring a goal worth remembering, for Ecuador, it wasn't a national tragedy. It was simply a lost World Cup, and for the fans, sometimes that hurts more than a dramatic elimination. Germany in Russia 2018. Germany's worst defending champion loss in modern football history happened in Russia, where they arrived with the champion star and played as if victory was assured. Slow, predictable, without hunger. They lost their debut against Mexico 1-0. No one saw it coming. They came back against Sweden with a goal from Kroos in the 95th minute. That gave a bit of hope. Against South Korea, with qualification nearly secured, they collapsed. 2 stoppage time goals, 2-0. And Germany was eliminated. The world champion eliminated in the group stage by South Korea. The greatest humiliation in the history of German football. Peru in 1982. Peru arrived at the World Cup in Spain with a generation that had already given its best years. In 1978, they had been semi-finalists, but in 1982, something changed. They lost all 3 matches in their group, against Cameroon, against Poland, and against Italy. They didn't win anything, and after that World Cup, Peru took 36 years to qualify again. 36 years. Peru's worst World Cup marked the start of their worst run ever. And England at Brazil 2014. England arrived at Brazil 2014 with their usual hopes. Steven Gerrard, Rooney, Lampard, Raheem Sterling, and Daniel Sturridge as the team's main hopes. They showed promise in their debut against Italy, but lost 2-1. In the second match against Uruguay, Luis Suarez destroyed them by himself. 2 goals, and the match ended. 2-1. Mathematically eliminated after the second match. It was the first time in their history that they were out of a World Cup in the second match. 1 point. 2 goals scored. Ranked 26th in the standings. The worst result for England in their entire World Cup history. Chile. In Spain, 1982. Chile also lived through their worst nightmare in the same tournament as Peru. They lost against Austria, against Germany, and against Algeria. 3 matches, 3 defeats, 0 points. Only 2 goals scored and 8 conceded. What makes this case special is that Chile didn't lose because of small details. They were thoroughly outplayed by all their opponents. There wasn't a single moment when La Roja seemed capable of winning. The only World Cup in their history where they didn't even manage a draw. Uruguay in 2002. Uruguay returned to a World Cup after 12 years of absence. 12 years, and their comeback was a disaster. They lost to Denmark in their debut. They drew with France in the second match. And in the last game against Senegal, they were down 3-0 before halftime. They came back to 3-3, but it was too late. La Celeste finished in 26th place out of 32, their worst historical position in a World Cup, a return that would have been better not to make. Spain in Brazil, 2014. Spain arrived as the best team in the world. World Cup champions in 2010, champions of the Euro in 2008 and 2012. The best run by a European national team in football history, and the Netherlands destroyed them 5-1 in their debut. Arjen Robben ran all over the field as if it were a preseason friendly. Spain didn't react. Chile eliminated them in the second match. They finished by beating Australia 3-0 when it didn't matter anymore. From the historic treble to 22nd out of 32 in a single tournament. Few downfalls in football history have been as fast as this one. It definitely proves that glory doesn't last forever. France in South Africa 2010. France started with a goalless draw against Uruguay. Then they lost to Mexico. And before the last match, the locker room was already a battlefield. Anelka insulted Coach Domenech during halftime of the match against Mexico. He was expelled from the camp. And the players, in solidarity with Anelka, refused to train. They refused to train. In a World Cup, with the national team. France lost their last match. They exited in the group stage, placing 29th of 32. It wasn't the worst sporting result on this list, but it was the most embarrassing because the team didn't lose due to a lack of quality. They lost because they destroyed themselves from within. And that rarely happens. The worst misfortune that can happen to a national team is to fall apart from within. And this French team is irrefutable proof of that. Which one do you think is the worst of all? Leave it in the comments. If you made it this far, stay for this video I chose just for you. All the World Cup mascots. I think you'll enjoy it. Please comment, subscribe, and like. See you.